Hello, Cinema Essentials welcomes you back again. In the previous episode 8, we were able to arrange to dig a tunnel in the guard room for the necessary route to cross over to the infirmary and cell block A. Bob's murder case was also resolved, and although Nick and Veronica were attacked, they didn't die. The episode is titled Tweener, named after the young man who ended up in prison for theft. David Tweener Opolski's, taking the nickname Tweener from his name. If you're ready, let's begin Season 1, Episode 9. I'm your host, Theo. While showering in prison, Teabag's guy asks him for help, but Teabag sees this and tells him not to get involved in their business. The young man comes again asking for help, but Schofield just keeps watching without saying anything. Lincoln Burrows arrives at the warden's office and asks for help finding his missing son. I'm the warden, but what's happening outside is beyond my jurisdiction. I can't help, he says. Lincoln requests permission to leave with a guard escort as a prisoner's right, but the warden doesn't allow it. Everyone gets their assigned tasks and works in the burned guard room. When Bellick leaves, Teabag knocks on the door as a signal, and they return to their original task of breaking through the concrete with hammers. They put the small concrete pieces into their pants pockets and casually drop them one by one while standing in different spots in the yard. C-Note notices this and picks up the concrete pieces that Schofield's group dropped, keeping them. When they return to cell block A, Teabag's guy is found hanged to death right in front of Schofield and the others. While praying in the chapel, Schofield tells Lincoln that he should have helped, but now the guy is dead, and he feels guilty. Lincoln responds that these things happen in prison. You can't save everything by yourself. Don't take it to heart. LJ, sleeping on the roadside, is startled awake by loud noises. While searching for coffee bags at home, she finds 2 guns stored in the wardrobe. As she's thinking about something, Nick asks what she's looking for. I have a lot of personal problems too. If you think I'm some kind of bad guy, you can leave this house, he tells her. A new arrival in prison, Tweener, asks C-Note if he can team up with him and Corey. But C-Note says, "Listen here, white boy, we don't associate with guys like you," and drives him away. Teabag, an expert at Western tactics, watches this. While Abruzzi stands on the drain cover dropping concrete pieces, Bellick asks what he's doing. "Nothing," he replies. Bellick says it's almost the end of the month, and the first week is almost over. "You haven't paid me my monthly fee yet. When I get home tonight and check my bank account, if it's not there, I'll revoke all the privileges I've given you, including your PI work permit." While Schofield's group is working, a guard arrives and tells everyone to get out of the room. "Wait at the fence corner until I call you." Everyone becomes nervous. What's the emergency? The supervisor calls the secretary from the warden's office because some little mouse came to steal. Only after returning to the room and making sure the hole wasn't discovered could everyone breathe a sigh of relief. Abruzzi calls the accountant and asks what the problem is. Philly took all the operating funds from the business. "All that's left is $30,000 in accounts receivable," he says. Abruzzi responds, "That money is set aside specifically for my wife. We won't use it. I'll arrange something in the meantime." After visiting hours, when they return to the room, Abruzzi sees Philly calling his cellmate out to talk and realizes he was stabbed in the back with a knife. Lincoln and LJ make contact and talk on the phone, telling him to contact Veronica. Before they finish talking, Paul Kellerman and his team, who had been wiretapping LJ's phone line, immediately arrive. LJ runs desperately and manages to lose Paul Kellerman's team in a parking area. Nick, Veronica, and the deceased Stedman's wife meet and talk. Using a different name to avoid being recognized, they ask who else might want to kill Stedman. Stedman's wife replies that among the people sitting around this table, at least one wants to kill him. They're all associated with him, and the monetary value is about $500 million. People kill for much less than that. For $500 million, they'd happily do it. The newly arrived prisoner Tweener tries to make friends with everyone he meets. But when it doesn't work out, he sits dejectedly on a bench. Teabag comes over and starts talking, casually rubbing Tweener's thigh and asking if his knee hurts. Tweener says, "I'm not that kind of person, you pervert," and walks away. Sarah visits the doctor who previously provided close psychological counseling and treatment for Schofield. She asks about Michael Schofield's medical treatment records. The illness he suffers from, for example. We see a house as just a house, But Schofield sees not only the house, but knows exactly how the entire house is constructed and what's inside. When this disease occurs in people with low IQ, they go crazy. But when someone with high IQ like Schofield gets this disease, he becomes a genius. He stops looking out for himself and becomes a savior who rescues those suffering around him. At night, T-Bag verbally assaults Tweener with various vulgar words. Schofield watches this, and since a young man died earlier, he decides to help prevent this from happening again. Late at night, when Nick and Veronica return home, they find that LJ had contacted them, so Veronica calls back. LJ, unaware that his phone is hacked, says, "The company people are here again. I don't know how they keep finding everywhere I am." Veronica tells LJ to take a bus to Marissa Lake in Iowa. Here I want to mention whether flip phones can be hacked. Their current hacking method involves working with the telephone company to route all incoming and outgoing calls from this phone number to the company's phone line. Since the line is tapped, they know everything LJ says. Abruzzi removes a light bulb from the administration building and breaks it. While his cellmate who had teamed up with Philly to plot against him for a week is sleeping, he places the broken glass on his eyes, causing them to pop out. While dropping chalk pieces in the prison yard, Schofield looks around and sees T-Bag's group harassing Tweener. T-Bag tries to pull down his pants, making Tweener angry. Sarah arrives and tells him to contact her if he needs anything, and that she has some medical records she's been investigating, so he can consult with her anytime. Since LJ is going to Marissa Lake, Paul Kellerman's team waits in advance for the bus arrival time. They board the bus, and while saying they need to inspect for company business and asking passengers to stay in their seats, they search for the agent on the bus but don't find him. Instead, they find the phone he left in the bus bathroom. At that time, LJ had already left with a different bus and reached New Glarus. Getting off the bus and meeting Veronica and others who were waiting, LJ finally feels relieved. Knowing his phone line was tapped, Veronica sent an SMS telling them to come to New Glarus instead. As for Marissa Lake, he deliberately said it on the phone to mislead Paul Kellerman's team. In the prison cell, Lincoln is restless, unable to sit or lie down, not knowing what to do. Guards arrive and deliver an envelope sent by his lawyer. Sitting on the bed, he reads it carefully. Written in code, he finds a message saying, "Dad, I'm okay, met with Veronica." And only then does he feel relieved. Walking to work wearing pie uniforms. When they reach the room, Schofield suddenly grabs a metal pipe in the room and strikes T-Bag sharply on his kneecap. As T-Bag calls for the guard, Schofield says, "Go ahead and scream if you want. You're not brave. You're a coward. You also want to break out of prison like us." While Schofield is speaking, the guard arrives after hearing the shouting. When the guard asks if there's a problem, T-Bag says, "No sir, I thought some items were missing, so I called." The guard says if nothing's missing, get back to work, and leaves. After the guard leaves, "Do you want to break out of prison or not? I'm the leader here. You have to listen to me. You have to do what I say. First of all, don't you dare touch that kid Tweener. Do you understand?" Only then does T-Bag assess the situation and says he understands. Bellick arrives again and calls Abruzzi out, saying they need to talk. Luckily, Bellick stand and talk above the hole without falling into it, but only when they check do they discover that Bellick's photo is pasted over a wooden board covering the hole. As T-Bag walks slowly, Tweener bumps into him and asks if he slipped and fell, calling him sweetie. Since Schofield's group had warned him earlier in the morning, the subdued T-Bag doesn't say anything and continues walking. Watching T-Bag quietly back down with a smile are Schofield, Sucre, and Lincoln. Sucre says, "Damn, we've got problems now," and looks over to see new prisoners in pie uniforms. Abruzzi asks Bellick, "Boss, what's going on?" Bellick replies, "Since you didn't pay me my monthly fee, I hired other people who do pay monthly fees." Schofield's entire group is furious. This concludes episode 9. Will Abruzzi be able to get pie back? Will T-Bag really stay quiet? What will happen to LJ next? We'll continue watching in episode 10. Since this series will continue to be presented one episode at a time until the end, please like and subscribe to the Cinema Essentials channel. Thank you all for watching until the end.